there. Say what you need to say without limits. The Real Red Reaction Show, powered by Hail Varsity.
Say your say now at 402-466-3776 or tweet your thoughts at ESPN Lincoln.
Only from ESPN Lincoln, 101.5 FM and 1480 AM.
And welcome to it, Real Red Reaction. We are here at the bar, 16th and P. And guys, let's just spend 2 hours on that opening drive for Nebraska football. It was a come-from-behind victory for Oklahoma, 49-14. Can we frame it that way? Elijah Herbal's with it, Tim Bob Kitzmiller, and the pride of Lincoln Northeast, Jeff Moats, Chris Schmidt, here at the bar. And we've had Nathan and Michael and Jake, and we may do a little roulette, as one would term it, or barroom karaoke with some on-site takes to lay on after the ball game. But fellas, what emotion, what build-up, what nostalgia associated with Nebraska-Oklahoma. And then after that first drive, Nebraska goes 6 plays, 77 yards, a touchdown, and then the next 37 plays, Nebraska has a total of 77 yards. A tough day for the Big Red. Really, quite honestly, a build-up to the last 5 years when you look at line of scrimmage inconsistency. And I see a Liz sighting. She is here. So, yeah, it's a tough ball game, and Nebraska will no doubt try and regroup. A bye week is necessary. Indiana's getting beat as we speak. And, the West could still be up for grabs. Can stream us and find us, and we want to hear from you. Can dial up 466-3776 or 800-825-5865. We're streaming on ESPN Lincoln, on KFOR, and also on Facebook. Thank you, dear. Another Coors Light was brought to me. You have the Real Red Reaction YouTube channel, and, of course, Facebook Live with KFOR, ESPN Lincoln, and 96 Kicks. I think I got the family covered. Elijah, we'll start with you on an option pitch. A word to describe today. I go bludgeoning.
Disheartening is my word, but I don't want to go to Nebraska first. I just want to briefly start this thing off by saying let's give credit to where credit is due. Oklahoma was very, very impressive today.
Incredible.
They beat a bad Nebraska team. That much is okay, that's obvious. Nebraska was bad. Oklahoma was good, but Oklahoma came out. They got punched in the mouth. That opening drive by Nebraska, as Nebraska gets off the field on defense, the offense drives down the field, makes it look easy, scores a touchdown. Oklahoma, the whole crowd is against them. Things aren't going their way the next drive, and then Dylan Gabriel makes something out of nothing, really flips the momentum of the game. And I just want to start this whole thing off by giving credit to where credit is due, and the credit lies with Oklahoma today. They played a phenomenal football game. Nebraska's not good, but Oklahoma is that good. This is not them beating up on a terrible football team. This is them beating up and doing what they're supposed to do against a bad football team, and they did just that today. So I want to give credit to the Sooners before we get any further on Nebraska. But my word for the day is disheartening.
Tim Bob, a word from you. You're a Red Dirt dude. You've seen a lot of Oklahoma, Nebraska games over the years. Boy, oh boy, did your Boomer Sooners look incredible. Got a picture sent to me from one of the suites, and there's these just devilish grins on the faces of Switzer and Boz and Joe Washington as Oklahoma put up another touchdown. They're just grinning. They're just grinning inside Memorial Stadium.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's face. Elijah's got it right. OU's a really good football team. Brent Venable has certainly not missed a step. His defense was outstanding. The offense is kind of tailored for Gabriel, and really, I thought there's no better start for Nebraska than that first 2 series, and then it just went sideways in such a hurry with the talent and the depth on the OU side of the ball. It's a Boomer Sooner kind of day. I said to one of my friends, it's a good thing it wasn't in Norman, or Peter would have had to call them off for killing the ponies, for riding in the end zone. And then Roughnecks would have been run out of ammunition. One of my friends said, going to hang half 100 on them, as Barry would say. And my wife said, well, at least get 10 points. I said, well, she's a bit of a homer, So I can go either way. Again, I'm in Nebraska. I've been here 20 years. So I got on my Nebraska shirt, but I kind of went the way I expected it to go, honestly.
Motzi, a word from you.
Oklahoma's flat out good. No bones about it. I think a lot of people thought coming into this season with the loss of Lincoln Riley jumping ship and heading out to the coast to be near Hollywood and be at USC was going to be a big difference maker in terms of a negative point of view for Oklahoma. And then, of course, you had several players leave. Spencer Radler, who was their starting quarterback that had been benched a couple of times in the past. He took off for South Carolina. And so there was question as to whether or not Oklahoma –
Williams went with Lincoln Riley.
Yeah. And there was also a question as to whether or not Oklahoma would be the same Oklahoma this year. Well, you bring in Brent Venables, who has coached in that program before under Bob Stoops. He's coached with Dabo Sweeney at Clemson. He's got that big-time experience, and that's a big hire for Oklahoma. And so you virtually leave off with where you were at a year ago, and you just continue to move forward. And I thought today the way that they were balanced, there's no doubt that Gabriel is a very good quarterback. I was impressed with Mims. I was impressed with Gray. Those are big-time playmakers. The Oklahoma defense is still pretty solid. What did they say during the telecast? I think they were third in sacks. OU defense was third in sacks this year in the country. So I believe it. And that defense was able to find ways around so many creases and openings on that offensive line to get to Casey Thompson. And Casey Thompson had nowhere to go. He had no pass protection whatsoever. And, and that just continued to persist after that initial touchdown. Now, for Nebraska, I made the comment earlier on social media that it's amazing on the transformation. It's pretty evident that things were looking better today than they were a week ago. And I think we all know why, and that's been talked about too much. I don't want to go into that detail, but I thought Nebraska to start the game defensively looked really good. I thought they looked good defensively at times today, even though that Oklahoma offense was so high-powered. And I thought the Nebraska offense on their first drive looked tremendous. It's probably the best it's looked all season in general. But again, you're going up against a very tough and experienced Oklahoma football team. So I think Nebraska, and of course with Chubba Purdy and that touchdown run that he had late in the ball game, it was nice to see Chubba Purdy get in, by the way. And I thought he did a pretty good job. So, and of course, Gabe Ervin got some reps this afternoon. So to give some of those other guys a break, I think in general, Nebraska, considering what they had to deal with last week and the turnaround that Mickey Joseph had to do this week, the timing was poor. You need a week off. The next week, here's a bye week. You can kind of heal some people up, rest a little bit, work on some things, and get ready for Indiana here in 2 weeks. I think right now, at this point, how Nebraska's season is going to go will start with Indiana in 2 weeks and how they can adapt from the rest that they get this next week after this game to getting ready to play Indiana here in Lincoln in 2 weeks.
Schmitty, if you don't mind, let me quickly run you through some stats from the game today. I got all those pulled up in front of me. 580 total yards of offense from Oklahoma. It could have been 700 if the game did not get out of hand. 268 yards passing. That includes 230 from Dylan Gabriel, who was 16 of 27. 312 yards rushing for Oklahoma. That was on 54 attempts, 5.8 yards per rush. As for Nebraska, 327 yards of offense, 164 yards passing, 163 yards on the ground. So at least they were balanced. That's 45 rushes for Nebraska, 3.6 yards per attempt. Nebraska wins the time of possession by about a minute, 30 minutes and 24 seconds for the Huskers. But the stat of the day, in my eyes at least, Oklahoma, 10 of 16 on third down. They had 31 first downs on the day, and they get a 49-14 win this afternoon. It was never really close.
We got to give a shout out to Dan Kelly, the mayor of Southeast Lincoln, Okie Samuelson, is on site. Little personal moment for me, buddy from high school. But Okie making sure that just happened. Real Red Reaction, get in here. If you want to chime in, you can also use the fingers, let them do the walking, and comment on our Facebook pages with 96 Kicks, KFOR, and ESPN Lincoln, or streaming KFOR and ESPN Lincoln Twitter. And also can comment and watch our glorious faces on the Real Red Reaction YouTube. We're presented by Currency. For all your equipment financing needs, go Currency. We're here post-game at the bar, 16th and P. Elijah, you laid out the stats. Nebraska total yardage just a bit over what OU ran for. Mm-hmm. And guys, we're going to knee jerk here, and the knee jerk is this. The knee jerk is Oklahoma looks like a playoff team. Oklahoma looks like a national champion contender. I think they're that much better because of Venables defensively. You know what? That was always kind of an Achilles heel for Oklahoma. They had a ton of dudes make plays on offense, but what was hurting them? It was always their secondary. Their secondary was hot garbage tackling. Well, not anymore under Venables. That second level, the secondary, they tightened up, man. Nebraska could not go with much more bubble work. That worked early, right? First drive. And then OU got tight. They got off blocks. They made vicious tackles. They are physical. It's not patty cake Big 12. They don't look like that anyway after today. I'll say this also, and then Elijah will go around the horn with some impressions. Nebraska may be the worst team they play. Okay, I think that's a fair take after what we've seen through 4 games with Nebraska. Now, Nebraska can get better. They can build up and still win some games this year. But Nebraska is a far cry defensively from what they were last season. Nebraska looks extremely slow on the edges, right? They just got outflanked and couldn't get contained. Nebraska's got a major problem at left tackle. Nebraska's got a major problem opposite corner from Newsom. Nebraska's got a major problem if and when they want to go man at safety with one of their safeties back there. We'll get to some of your comments as well. But Elijah, we went with a word, and now the impression here of Nebraska and Oklahoma. Is it too much of an overreaction to say OU looks like a playoff team, or is it because of the competition that Nebraska put out there?
I mean, OU looks like by far and away the team to beat in the Big 12. I'll say that. It's way too early to say they're a playoff team. I think Nebraska is going to make at least 6 teams this season look like playoff teams based on where I look at the schedule right now. There's a lot of work they need to do. You mentioned a problem at the corner opposite Newsom. You mentioned left tackle. I'll say look like they have a problem at left tackle, left guard, center, right guard, right tackle, all the spots along the interior defensive line, half their secondary. The only wide receiver who can get open is Trey Palmer. They have major problems just about everywhere on this football team. And I don't think that's an overreaction based on what we saw today. I know that was a good football team Nebraska played today. But that was a bad football team that Oklahoma played today as well. Maybe we should have seen this coming. There's a comment in from Brennan. Let's get this on the screen. Just goes to show you can't win solely on passion, energy, and sparkle dust. You still have to be good, and that we are not. I agree with Brennan fully there on what he has to say. This is just not a good football team, and it's going to be a long football season. I said it on Twitter. I said it during the reaction show last week. I'm going to stick with my guns. This is the worst lines of scrimmage offensively and defensively that Nebraska may ever have in their history. It is bad on the offensive line. It is bad on the defensive line. It is bad all around for the Huskers this season, and based on what I see so far, it's not going to be getting any better.
I would agree, Elijah. I think that's the Achilles heel for Nebraska is the lines, both sides. Just because the pass protection is very, very, very poor. There were so many gaps that the Oklahoma defense, they just found those creases. They got to Casey Thompson in a split second. And you're going up against a team that, as we've alluded to, and I don't think it's an overreaction to say that Oklahoma is a playoff team. I firmly think that they are a playoff team. We'll see what happens with them, but Nebraska's got 2 weeks to get things corrected and get back on track if they can against Indiana. We'll see.
Tim, Bob, some impressions. We'll get to your calls in just mere moments. If you're on hold, stay there. with Real Red Reaction. Numbers to get in, 466-3776. Can email Chris at HaleVarsity.com. Tim Bob, playoff team, or is it because of what was on the field?
Well, I really want to talk about Brent Venables a minute, because I was thinking about, being from Oklahoma. My brother, is there. My family talked about a few years ago, when Bob Stoops couldn't win the big one. It was all Brent Venables' fault. It was his defense that wasn't good enough. And he went to Clemson and proved that wasn't the case. He's come back to Oklahoma with what they call a chaos defense, with a lot of sets and a lot of pressure and things that I don't think Casey Thompson has seen. And that was a big difference to me. Nebraska's defense has no pressure up front, as Elijah alluded to, but there's no deception. They get in a two deep, they're in a two deep. You know what your options are as a quarterback. They line up in man, you know what your options are. With the Oklahoma defense, you didn't know they would show the blitzes late. They'd show the changes in the secondary late. They would show 2 and then switch to 3. I mean, that's the difference between having some dudes on the back end and Nebraska just trying to get their guys lined up in the right spot for each snap. I mean, it's night and day in terms of the sophistication of that defense. And yeah, I do think from what I saw today, Oklahoma's defense is good enough to give anybody trouble with all the different looks and different sets. And offensively, they got a stable of running backs. They've got some dynamic receivers. And Gabriel, I mean, goodness, I mean, that offense, the biggest problem they had is linemen getting downfield. I mean, that's really the only thing that stopped a couple of drives. So, yeah, I think OU's maybe that good. Nebraska is that bad on the offensive and defensive line. And so it is what it is at this point.
Let's go to the phones real quick. Steve's been on hold here on Real Red Reaction, ESPN Lincoln, of course, 96 Kicks, Facebook, KFOR, Facebook and Twitter, and ESPN Lincoln, Facebook and Twitter, and Real Red Reaction, YouTube. Steve, the floor is yours. Go ahead.
Hey, I got a one-word take on today's game. Expected. I don't know how you could expect anything else. This is the best team Nebraska is going to play all year. And, we had the sea change. We had Mickey Joseph can only, that works in basketball and regime change, gets everybody fired up and they go on a winning streak. But I really hope Mickey Joseph does well and makes hay while the sun's shining, because this isn't a fair test for him. I mean, it's the only one he's going to get. But, they're not his coaches. He's known the team for what, 6 months? 5 months?
About 6 months, and he's brought in about half the dudes that can ball. I mean,
Yeah.
Guys that will give you a fighting chance on Saturdays is because of Mickey or because of Applewhite, and poor Casey. I mean, instead of Huskers on the jersey, it should have said Everlast. I mean, just because he got rocked 100 times today. But no, Steve, you're right, brother. I mean, a lot of Nebraska fans, unfortunately, expected this because it was just a mismatch. This reminded me, Steve, thank you for the phone call.
Yeah.
Appreciate your insight and thoughts, bud. Guys, this reminded me, remember when Oklahoma was in the Stoops era, make that the Blake era, pre-Stoops? And Nebraska really drilled Oklahoma back-to-back years, both years with Scotty at quarterback. And I was down there in my first college road trip with my my roommates that were from Sioux Falls, and said, "We got to go to Norman, brother. That's the road trip." And it was 73-21. I mean, Nebraska unloaded in Norman under John Blake, and then John Blake got rocked for T.O.'s 250th career win, 69-7. The Grant Wistrom destroys all of Oklahoma ball game. And it felt like that today. Now, you fast forward to a couple of years with some of those freshmen, sophomores on that 97 team. By the time they were seniors, they won a national championship, right? I mean, it took that. I don't know that that's Nebraska's roster right now, but, I think deep down, if you're very honest, Elijah, you knew this could end very, very badly. This could be very ugly today. And to be honest, like OU took it easy. I mean, it was backup time in the fourth quarter. And you just knew once Gabriel, who's a really good athlete, once he scrambles for a 61-yard touchdown, you're like, oh, no. Because, man, the first 5 minutes of the ball game, you get a 3 and out if you're a Nebraska fan, and then you get a clinic of a drive, a wonderful script, a great start. Man, this place, I mean, the place was shaking. It was really a cool moment for Nebraska, but then the storm hit.
Yeah, there was the touchdown by Gabriel, and then I believe it was Casey Thompson follows it up by getting sacked twice, and I'm not going to put that on Casey. That was an offensive line not giving up time, but immediately all the air deflated out of that stadium. You knew in that moment. It was still 7-7, but you knew that game was pretty close to over if Nebraska didn't do something phenomenal. And there's a great comment in here from Christian on our YouTube page. I'll bring it up on the screen here. And he asks, what is the strength of this team? The running back room, I'm not sure what this team is good at besides punting. And
Christian's right. I think the running backs look great, but they need to be able to follow up for a bit. They cranked out some good runs, and then OU adjusted or just quit messing around.
Well, the running backs took what would have been an F performance from this offensive line and made it look like a D. That's what the running backs did today. They did it what they could with a bad offensive line, but if you don't have an offensive line, you can't do anything offensively. If you don't have a stout defensive line, there's not much you can do defensively. The secondary wasn't great today, but they were made worse by the fact that Dylan Gabriel had all day to throw. I don't think I saw him on the ground once today. That did not help the defense as a whole. The running lanes were there all game, and that kind of comes down to the interior defensive line as well. Not much going offensively. It was just a poor performance from Nebraska all around. There's not a single positive I can take away from this game. Not a single positive. And the comments are slowed. There's not many calls coming in. This is the point where I think Husker Nation is gonna check out on this season. You follow this up with a bye week. There's nothing to look forward to after this performance today. I don't think that Nebraska is going to be able to hold Wisconsin to under 300 yards rushing. Wisconsin might hit 500 yards rushing if it's not a blowout. Iowa might have a good-looking offense against Nebraska with what this defense looks like. They might put up 30. Like, what is there to look forward to as a Husker fan moving forward, aside from the fact that, well, maybe Nebraska can get to 3-9 instead of 1-11, because 1-11 is still very much a possibility this season.
Knee-jerk right now after what OU did to you. Absolutely 1-11's on the table. I will say this. I don't think Nebraska fan checks out yet. There's a week, all right, you bye week. There's a week better if you're making the team. You can't lose to Indiana. They lose to Indiana, then it's on.
Well, let me throw something out there.
Indiana is 30-30 with Western Kentucky. They did send it to overtime.
And let me throw something out there. Northwestern, who we thought looked better than expected against Nebraska, they came out today. They're now 1-2. They lost to Southern Illinois, an FCS team that was 0-2 on the season. Southern Illinois went into Ryan Field and got a 30-24 victory over Northwestern. Like, this Husker team is terrible. Simple fact of the matter. I know you can't do that where you go like, oh, well, this team beat Northwestern and Northwestern beat Nebraska, therefore Southern Illinois is better than Nebraska. You can't do that in football. But, like, come on. Northwestern looked really unimpressive against Duke. They go and lose to an FCS team. Nebraska's already lost to an FCS team. They get killed by Oklahoma. This Husker football team is bottom of the barrel. I'm talking quite possibly the worst Power 5 school in the country this season based on what I have seen through the first 4 games of the season. There is a real possibility, and I don't think it's knee-jerk at all to say this Husker team, 2-10 might be a positive result from this season based on what I've seen so far. This team is absolutely terrible, Motzi. And I know you shook your head at that, Motzi, but Illinois and Indiana look like they have competent lines of scrimmage. And if you have that in the Big Ten, you put yourself in a chance to win. This Husker football team is going to have to fight and claw just to get to 3 wins this season.
Well, and let me add on a couple of things here. Okay, let's see. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of moving parts going on right now. Okay, you just had the top guy that was overseeing your program get let go. It's been about a week since that's happened. There might be still some rough feelings there with some of the players about that departure. The other thing is you put somebody in the interim role. He's just trying to get everything put together so they can press on and just keep playing football. I think the other thing it comes down to more than anything else is the type of recruiting that they're getting on the offensive and defensive lines. I mean, those guys in the last 2 years, those same guys that have been on that offensive line, I have not seen any major progression from them. I think as we move forward, though, if they do some fine-tuning, you got some winnable games coming up. You know, I still think Indiana is a winnable game. Rutgers could be, Purdue, Illinois. Minnesota, don't know. Michigan, no. Wisconsin, Iowa, doubt it. So I think right now what Mickey Joseph has got to deal with is that he's got to find ways to win the easy games, find ways to compete in some of those other tougher conference games, and try to compete and win those games too, any way possible. And, he's up against the wall, and this is an audition for him. I mean, he's in a tough spot. You know, if he wants to be the next head football coach at the University of Nebraska, he's got to find a way to get everything straightened out here in the next 2 weeks to really get Nebraska back on that winning track. And if it's Indiana, if they can't beat Indiana, I think you're right, Chris. If they can't beat Indiana, I think it's a real possibility that this could be a 1-11, 2-10 football team. But we'll see what happens in 2 weeks, and we'll see what happens against Rutgers too.
The only winnable game I still see on this schedule is Rutgers, personally. And Schmidt, I'll let you jump in here. But the only winnable game, I mean, Indiana could be winnable, sure. But that's based on the fact that Nebraska's going to have to improve significantly between now and then. Rutgers is the only game I see where I go, you know what, Nebraska, that one might be a toss-up. That's probably the only one that Nebraska isn't underdogged in remaining on the schedule, unless I see some massive changes to this football team, which you can't build an offensive line in 2 weeks.
Mickey's
right.
Part of the solution. Mickey's part of the solution as interim, and Mickey's part of the solution as a recruiter and voice on this football team, not only this season but beyond, for Nebraska to get back to where Nebraska fans want them to get back to, and that's competency, competitiveness, bowl games, wins. Mickey's got to be a guy that they take care of, whether or not he's the option. And again, it's an uphill climb. Rock Westfall on Twitter reaches out to us here. Real Red Reaction here live from the bar. 16th and P is where we're at. We're presented by Currency. All of this is on. He's been calling Scott this since day one, calling him Prince Scott. This is what he bequeathed to those he took advantage of and disrespected. Sobering how far back this program is and how long it will take. John checks in. Schmidt Radio doesn't even want to dress like a Husker fan anymore. That's how bad today was. I was wearing Uncle Andy's beat Oklahoma hat. James Valentine, our dear friend from Maroon 5, gives a shout out to our dear friend Okie Samuelson. What's up, Okie? So I'm just reading some of the Twitter. Brody checks in. Easy games. Bro, we lost to Georgia Southern.
And we're at a real risk right now.
We are going, where's Waldo on the easy games remaining on the schedule? And Brennan puts in a great question too, fellas. You know, who's the worst team that will play? And I don't know.
Georgia Southern. We already saw it. Actually, probably North Dakota. But
so?
Remaining, it's Rutgers. And let me just say here, another thing to add whenever I'm looking at this, why I don't think it's overreaction to say 2-10 is not out of the question. We all saw that performance today. We all saw that performance last week. And now you're at risk of a team checking out on you. Team that goes, you know what? We got 8 games left this season. We're already 1-3. Our head coach is already fired. I'm going to be putting my name in the transfer portal come December. What is my reason for wanting to put on for a team right now? Like, you have assistant coaches who are going to be going home to their families tonight and answering the question, what's going to happen in December? And they're going to say, I don't know, but chances are I'm going to be looking for a new job. And they're going to have to be working through that during the season. Not only is it players who are going to be saying, you know what, I'm probably going to be at a different school next year just based on what the transfer portal does. You're looking at coaching staff too, who this entire season, they're going to have the shadow looming over them of, you know what, I'm going to be looking for a new job in December too. I'm going to have to be focused on that. And while on one hand, they have to put on good performances because it's a job audition for a new place, you also know the results of this season aren't going to be looked at too closely because other schools know the head coach is gone. This season's a mess. You have probably the most untalented roster in all of Power 5 right now, just based on development. I'm not saying recruiting rankings are there, but this team has not been developed into anything that even comes close to resembling a Power 5 football team. And this team is at great risk of just checking out the rest of the season and saying, you know what, we're on to the next one. I'll have a new school waiting for me come December. There's a new coaching staff coming come December, and that's going to be the uphill climb for Mickey. The uphill climb for Mickey is not going to be winning football games. It's just going to be keeping this team checked in for another 8 more football games.
Numbers to get
take, Elijah.
Real Red Reaction, 466-3776. We're here live at the bar. Tim Bob, jump in, Cowboy. Sorry about that.
I just did. I mean, that's a pretty good take. I obviously the commentators, the Fox commentators talked about, that in the broadcast, play coaches and players, thinking about the transfer portal and those type of things, being able to keep the team engaged. You need a few wins, to do that. And there's a real chance that they check out before this thing's done. Now, your Nebraska kids aren't going to check out, but some of the kids who are here for the name on the back of the jersey and not the one, on the, not the N on the side of the helmet, right? Those kids, are looking, where do I go? So that's a real problem, and could be with this transfer portal because of, that landscape. Now, Trev said today, we did this for the players because we wanted them to have a few wins. He wasn't overestimating, I think, when he said that. He sees what the schedule looks like ahead. He knows what this team looks like. It's been a long fall, that's for sure.
You can chime in, do so, 466-3776 800-825-5865, numbers to dial up. Can find us, can stream us in different platforms with your Alpha Media family of radio networks, ESPN Lincoln, Twitter and Facebook, KFOR, Twitter and Facebook. 96 Kicks, Facebook and Twitter is where you find us as well. You can email Chris@HaleVarsity.com. And you have Real Red Reaction, the YouTube channel is where we're at. We'll get some thoughts from Mickey Joseph and step away. We'll hear from Mickey coming back. Elijah Herbal, Tim Bob Kitzmiller, Jeff Moats, Chris Schmidt live here at the bar. The bar, 16th and P. Excited to be out here for post-game. Tough day for Nebraska. And we had fun with the pregame when there was lots of hope. Tough reality for the Big Red as they got beat. But, hey, fellas, they still covered the over-under, 66.5. Always a little ray of sunshine in your Jack Daniels. Quick timeout as a Real Red Reaction presented by Currency continues here from the bar.
They say spring is the season for love, but not here in Nebraska. It's the Cornhusker State. We love our Husker football. ESPN Lincoln's got your love for Husker football covered from the locker room, the practice field, and, of course, game day. Get geared up, watch the game, and talk about it here. ESPN Lincoln, FM 101.5, 1480 AM.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
Today on Hey Culligan, better water that cares. Jane's on the line.
Hey Culligan, how can I avoid using all those plastic water bottles that harm the sea turtles?
Jane, our always-on drinking water system helps eliminate the equivalent of 15 billion single-use plastic bottles a year. So, you see, Culligan cares about sea turtles, too.
Aw, plastic pollutes and Culligan cures.
That's catchy, Jane, and totally true.
I'll take it. Like now.
Jane, we're already on the way. Let us help you out with a free in-home water test with a local Culligan water expert at Culligan.com.
I absolutely love my dog, but the constant shedding, not so much. But then I got a Swiffer Sweeper pet kit, and it is amazing. These super thick cloths pick up a crazy amount of hair. Just look at all that. And that was from just one swipe. And the best part? Sweeper's so much easier to maneuver than a broom or a vacuum, easily getting around chairs and under the couch. You're right. Now I can focus on you, not your shedding. Swiffer Sweeper Pet Kit, because shed happens.
Now, local businesses can get closer to every customer in their city with fast, affordable shipping. Introducing USPS Connect Local. You want speed? We deliver same or next day. You want savings? We give you supplies at a flat rate. You want less legwork? We do free pickups. Move your local business forward with the United States Postal Service. Let's connect at USPSconnect.com/local. Specific markets, restrictions apply. Same day or next day delivery expected, but not guaranteed with entry close to final destination.
A smoke-free environment is the only way to fully protect from the dangers of secondhand smoke. That's why smoke-free policies are so important to me, whether it's in my car, apartment building, or when I'm dining outdoors. There's no place for secondhand smoke or e-cigarette aerosol. Breathe easier knowing the facts. Visit smokefree.ne.gov. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
Today on Hey Colligan, better water that cares. Jane's on the line.
Hey, Culligan, how can I avoid using all those plastic water bottles that harm the sea turtles?
Jane, our always-on drinking water system helps eliminate the equivalent of 15 billion single-use plastic bottles a year. So, you see, Culligan cares about sea turtles, too.
Aw, plastic pollutes and Culligan cures.
That's catchy, Jane, and totally true.
I'll take it, like now.
Jane, we're already on the way. Let us help you out with a free in-home water test with a local Culligan water expert at Culligan.com.
I absolutely love my dog, but the constant shedding, not so much. But then I got a Swiffer Sweeper Pet Kit, and it is amazing. These super thick cloths pick up a crazy amount of hair. Just look at all that. And that was from just one swipe. And the best part? Sweeper's so much easier to maneuver than a broom or a vacuum, easily getting around chairs and under the couch. You're right. Now I can focus on you, not your shedding. Swiffer Sweeper Pet Kit, because shed happens.
Now, local businesses can get closer to every customer in their city with fast, affordable shipping. Introducing USPS Connect Local. You want speed? We deliver same or next day. You want savings? We give you supplies at a flat rate. You want less legwork? We do free pickups. Move your local business forward with the United States Postal Service. Let's connect at USPSconnect.com/local. Specific markets, restrictions apply. Same day or next day delivery expected, but not guaranteed with entry close to final destination.
Guys, are you getting up multiple times a night to use the bathroom? As we get older, so do our prostates, and that can mean urinary problems that affect our sleep and quality of life. Life is better outside the bathroom. Real Health's Prostate Complete can help you relieve those annoying and painful prostate symptoms. Available at Walmart or visit realhealth.com for more information and to order yours today. Try it risk-free with our 120-day money-back guarantee. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA.
Smoke-free
This product is not
environment
intended to
is the
diagnose,
only
treat, or
way
cure
to
any
fully
disease.
protect from the dangers of secondhand smoke. That's why smoke-free policies are so important to me, whether it's in my car, apartment building, or when I'm dining outdoors. There's no place for secondhand smoke or e-cigarette aerosol. Breathe easier knowing the facts. Visit smokefree.ne.gov. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
Coming up on a Monday in the morning hookup, post-game reactions, our reactions, your reactions of Nebraska-Oklahoma.
Evan playing with the Omaha World Herald. He will join the show around 10:20.
We'll also go back through NFL games. We'll go around the diamond. That and a whole lot more in the morning hookup. ESPN Lincoln.
Keeping it real. The Real Red Reaction Show is uncensored and powered by Hail Varsity on ESPN Lincoln, 101.5 FM and 1480 AM.
Thanks for hanging out. Real Red Reaction here at the bar, 16th and P. Want to see you down here. If you are sad or thirsty, they can take care of both. There's lots of happy people, not happy about the result if you're a Nebraska fan, but they're coping, and they're coping well. About 8 deep in the bar. The bar, 16th and P. Jeff Moats has a grin. He's thinking about a safety meeting right now. I know he is.
Yeah, going to Havelock.
There's like privately going, how about Boomer? Because he's a red dirt guy. And Elijah Herbal's like, my hair still looks incredible. Chris Schmidt, 16th and P. And you're able to watch this show, this reaction, 466-3776 or 800-825-5865 can chime in. Make your comments on the Real Red Reaction YouTube channel. You can watch the show. Can also stream us, ESPN Lincoln, Facebook, KFOR, Facebook, also Twitter with KFOR and ESPN Lincoln. And our friend 96 Kicks. A couple more comments. Real Beard tweets in. I hope while Urban Meyer was away from the other guys for a quarter, Trev offered him $12 million for a 10-year deal. As I was leaving, Urban was walking from the elevator and took a right turn down the hallway. There's a Doors song, something like that. But Urban went to the booth because Gus got sick. Platt had to take over, and Fox, in the middle of a bludgeoning, is like, we better throw Urban in the booth to keep some interest, some morbid curiosity, fellas, because, yeah, I mean, he's chanting away with the Big Noon Kickoff, and Big Noon Kickoff is telling you that, hey, Nebraska wants Urban. I mean, that was very loud and proud here even before things got started. Well, Elijah,
this might be low-hanging fruit.
And Jeff Moats. So it's funny. That's the other part of this here. Did this performance, and it ain't on Mickey, bro. Mickey's just trying to keep more icebergs from naming the ship right now. But I wonder if this flipped any anti-urbaners out there, right? Because there's quite a loud voice this week of anti-urban people, and he could get this fixed. But are you selling your soul for a 3-year ascension, and then what? That is the question. Numbers to get in: 466-3776, 800-825-5865. We'll get to more of your calls, more of your comments as well here on the screen. Great atmosphere, the fellas down here at the bar. Mozi, I know you're in the den. Same with you, Tim, Bob, and Elijah. Thanks for making time to come back and run this, Cowboy. Just a tough one for Nebraska, but it didn't. It was a butt kicking like. Okay, there's a couple of games that come to my mind. When Bo took over, right? Remember when Missouri and Chase Daniel, the booger eater, when they were legit, they were number one in the country. They were a phenomenal football team. They had built up to that under Pinkel. They came in. It was Bo's first big game, and got it rocking. And they drilled Nebraska. They absolutely drilled Nebraska. And then even that Ohio State team that was for real in the Riley era. I didn't see anybody quit. I just think they got flat out beat like they stole something today.
I agreed. I was going to say the Ohio State game's what reminded me, the build up, the hype, the pregame and all that. And then, came out and just clearly were outclassed on the field by the athletes that they were competing against. I mean, I've said that recruiting is with Huddle has changed everything. But the fact of the matter is, you and I do a lot of high school football games, the 3 or 4 of us here. I can tell you when you go to a game, a 4 or 5A class football game in Oklahoma, there are 20 players on the field that are going to go sign Division I scholarships, right? And the rest of them are probably going to play Division II or NAI. I mean, the caliber of athlete playing at a Oklahoma top tier versus Omaha or Lincoln or Class A school in Nebraska is just two different things. So, the athletic ability on the field, the depth that OU brought in here compared to Nebraska is night and day. And you can see it, again, the closest I remember is the Ohio State game where they were just clearly outclassed.
Ohio State's a good take. Ohio State's a good take. That's what this reminded me of, where the juice was in the stadium until about 3 minutes into the game. Well, I guess today it was 5. Where you just Nebraska just had that look of a team that as soon as Oklahoma tied this game up at 7, they had the look of a team that just didn't have any answers. And upon watching that first half, this is low-hanging fruit. I'm going to go back to it because I thought of the joke, and I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it on the air if I thought of it. That's that Gus Johnson wasn't the only person that got sick based on what they saw in the first half and had to leave. I mean, gross, bad. And it looks like we've got Meg checking in from somewhere in the depths of the stadium. I'll get her out of the stream here.
But I think Gus wanted to jump out the window, and he just said, you know what, I'm going to pull the Meg, we got you live. You're leaving the press conference. Impressions from Mickey. Mickey took full responsibility. I know that, but he did what he could. Just too much OU today.
I'm not sure Meg can hear us.
Not hear us.
She might have some difficulty trying to hear us.
Yeah, we'll go back to Meg.
Yeah, we'll check that.
Having audio issues.
Oh, there we are. There you are.
Do you have it, Meg?
We'll wait to get reconnected with Meg when she gets back to some more stable Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
But to finish the thought, I think Ohio State's one that comes to mind. I can remember the hype with USC coming into Lincoln. When was that? Was that 2007, 2006?
2006.
2006, you're right.
Yeah.
That's the perfect take, Mozi. That's the perfect take
Because
where they ran the fullback 3 times and they killed Nebraska.
There was so much buildup to that game because I can remember the one year they were out in Los Angeles. The next year they were here in Lincoln. And it was like, Larry the Cable Guy had Will Ferrell in his suite at Memorial Stadium. There were a few other big-name people that came in to watch the game. There was so much hype. It was a primetime game, and it was just a lousy game from the get-go because Nebraska just simply could not respond in an immediate fashion. That's one that really stands out.
If there was a couch in Larry the Cable Guy's suite, one of those two tried to light one on fire. I swear to you.
A left-handed cigarette, right?
Yes. I think we have Meg. This thing isn't going well.
I might not be getting any audio. I can't tell.
It's going off the rails all of a sudden.
Phil and Larry the Cable Guy seeing who could light a bigger mushroom cloud at halftime between Nebraska and USC, because that's what today felt like. Meg, do you have us? Are you good? We hear you.
I think so. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Yes, wonderful. So I need a thought from you. You were at the post game, and I know Mickey took full responsibility. This was a monster task to ask anybody. Mickey came in, gave it his all. What were your impressions? We'll hear from the players and coaches in a bit, but your take from the players and coaches, you were there.
So, yeah, like you said, Mickey definitely took full responsibility for that. But then all of his players come in and say, no, you're not the one on the field. It's us. And, that's you win as a team, you lose as a team. It's the tale as old as time. The one thing I did take away from that post-game press conference is that even though we all saw what happened today out here on the field, there's still hope. There's still excitement. And these guys are still willing to work. They have 8 games left to get something going. And the captains, Henrich talked on it. He's like, listen, I'm telling the guys, don't quit. I asked him, I go, what are you telling your guys as a defensive leader? And he's like, don't quit. And they're all very excited to have Mickey at the helm. But what they said, they took responsibility and said what we can accomplish definitely did not translate onto the field today. And we all definitely saw that too. Can confirm, unfortunately.
My thought would be if he's telling them not to quit, some of them have already quit.
Yep.
Yeah, he and Farmer made a good comment. I like Farmer. He's blunt. I like that. He just said, it's football, and he's like, if you can't hang, you shouldn't be playing. And I it's essentially what he said. And I kind of chuckled a little bit when he said it, because I was like, well, he's not wrong, man. So you still see a lot of fire in these guys, and they're still willing to work, but overcoming this adversity, this is tough, man. This is really hard.
Well, my concern moving forward is that the only thing left to play for these guys is the name on the back of the jersey. That's what worries me, because to win as a football team, you have to play for that N on the side of the helmet, that team name on the front of the jersey. And I don't know, something about this team just kind of showed me today that these are guys that, yeah, they're working for their next stop wherever they end up in the transfer portal after the season, working for an NFL shot someday. But if you're only playing for that name on the back of the jersey, you're going to have some issues. And that's my concern with this team moving forward. And that's why I'm so low on this team's prospects moving forward to these final 8 games.
Elijah, I'm glad you said something like that, because again, what I gathered from this post-game presser, they're taking away the Fox set behind me, by the way. Can you see that? Yeah. What I took away from this post-game is that they are all still very much in it for each other. And I know that actions speak louder than words. So like you said, that's a scary thought to think that maybe they are just going to do it for themselves. But as of right now, it's not the vibe. So that's, hopefully we can continue to expect that for the next 8 games.
Elijah, you brought up the point that they're playing for the name on the back of their jersey. It reminds me, and Tim Bob may remember this, I know Schmitty does too. We had Mitch Holtis come speak at our Sportscasters Club banquet about 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. And his point of his presentation to all the student athletes that we were honoring that night here in Lincoln is, do you want to be a footprint or do you want to be a free agent? Because this is pre-NIL. And it was about the time where we're starting to see more college basketball transfers taking place all over the country. And these kids have been told growing up and developing, whether they're playing for a club team, a high school team, whoever, that they are the man. They're the man. They're the stud that's going to go out there and they're going to set the world on fire. And then they get to a big time program and realize, wait a minute, I'm not in the starting rotation. I'm not even the 6th or 7th man off the bench. I'm not in the starting lineup. I'm not happy. There are points where players have to know their role on a team. And I think in this day and age, everybody has been pumped up to be, you're the guy. You're the guy that's going to make the difference out there on the field or on the court. But he made a good point, though, because do you want to be a footprint and leave a lasting impression in a program? That way you can build up your character, build up your future when you go into the job world, because not everybody's going to be a professional athlete, okay? Especially at Division I athletics. There's just too many of them. But he says, do you want to be a footprint or do you want to be a free agent? And he says the way that college basketball is heading, there's a lot of free agents taking place. And now with NIL, and I know there's talk of, with NIL, the players are going to get some compensation out of it. That's great. But I think you're creating, with the transfer portal, more than anything, you're creating a lot of free agents like Mitch Holtis would refer to in that talk. And Schmitty just came back, and I was talking about the time that we had Mitch Holtis speak at the Sportscasters Club banquet a few years ago, where he was talking about kids being a footprint in a program or being a free agent. And I think in this day and age now, it's not just Nebraska. I think it's a lot of schools. If a kid's not happy, they're going to pack their bags and go wherever they can to go play. And it's sad.
It is an uphill battle. It is an uphill battle, Motzi, and it comes down to parents. It comes down to high school program. It comes down to kind of character. And I'm not saying that transfers can't and don't happen, I mean, eventually, if you're good enough to go to a big-time program, you may be behind a Peyton Manning for 4 years, right? You may be behind think of a incredible Tommy Frazier, okay? I mean, just go that route. Eric Crouch. I mean, Nebraska's had their share of Tommy Armstrong, right? I mean, he came in and did a great job after T Magic got dinged in that foot. So I get the quarterback spot, I guess, a little bit more than other spots because now the one guy that's had probably the least amount of transfers has been Whipple. I mean, guys just like him. He's a grumpy old dude that likes to kind of smash around his quarterbacks, but they respect him. He gets people better. So maybe Nebraska's got that. And I think him and Mickey are on the same page. But no, when it comes to offensive line, the truth is this. Clemson went 10-3 last year because they were playing way too many redshirt freshmen offensive and defensive linemen. Eventually the well dried up because of the early entry into the NFL draft. You're going to hit those years where it's a rebuild versus a reload, or guys are good enough that they're going to have to learn on the job versus training and then being a role guy before they become the guy. So that's the fight. That's the fight right now for college football coaches, and it's way too easy. And you're not going to win and have any sustainability. You're going to get some complimentary help with the portal, but it can't be your go-to. It'll turn into K-State, and that's not a knock.
Thank you.
That was a niche. That was a niche.
Thank you.
And there were some lean years and some great years with Bill Snyder, but guess what? It was either way, whether it was 11-2 or 6-6, it was still way better than 1985. So Nebraska has to figure out, and I think Nebraska will, to get back to the high school realm of development. And you got a Zadiska and a Wiegert. By the time they're a redshirt sophomore, that's 3 years in a program. They'd have thousands and thousands of reps. There's no more freshman football, but most of those guys still had an opportunity to play against really good competition in practice, i.e. first or second rounders on the defensive line, and it all worked out. I mean, Nebraska right now, if we're looking at a line, is they're not even right in the middle. They're far, far, far left because of a coaching change, of misevaluations, and flat-out lack of development. Okay, and to quick fix it with some portal options, again, is a compliment. Nebraska went heavy this year as an answer, and it's gonna compound. I think the kids will keep fighting, and some of the leaders on this team will weed out those guys who love walking around with the Husker gear on. But they'll weed out guys that, you know what, business decision time when it's time to make a one-on-one tackle. And there's a few of those dudes. There's a reason everybody transfers. Is it because you're behind Peyton or because you were told no for the first time since you're 12, if at all? So,
Schmitty, one thing that – sorry, but I didn't mean to walk all over you there. Piggybacking off of that, one thing I worry about when you talk about the transfer portal, at this juncture, what's appealing? Like, what's appealing to come here, And that's a scary thought a little bit. And not just the transfer portal, with recruits. These guys walking the side,
riches for you and your family. NIL.
Yeah, fair. That's true.
And maybe playing for a coach that'll get you in the NFL, Elijah.
Yeah, and that's, I guess, the appealing part for transfer portal. But transfer portal is not the solution for Nebraska. Transfer portal is the solution for a team that's 6-6 and needs another piece or two to get to that 10-2 mark. That's not the way to go if you're a team that is consistently 4-8, 3-9, potentially 2-10, 1-11 this season. Transfer portal is not your way to go. I mean, what we talked about when Scott Frost came in terms of you need 5 years. It's a long, painful rebuild, and it's been longer and more painful. I think any Husker fan would have dreamed of 5 years ago. But Nebraska needs to go find the kids that want to be here, not for the money, not because they can find personal glory here. They need to find the guys that are going to come in and want to dedicate themselves and give 110% to the program and know that your reward will come at the end of that. It needs to be the guys that are more long-sighted in terms of their football career and finding guys that love football. I mean, that's what it comes down to. You have to find guys that are willing to go through the grind for 3 or 4 seasons before that they get their spoils, whether it be a shot in the NFL or whatever that end road ends up being. Transfer portal is not the way to go, and people can be concerned about guys on this team transferring away from the program. Who cares? Who cares if your best players transfer away at the end of this season? And that's why I don't understand the whole Mickey Joseph, keep him around because he's got recruits in here and he's got young guys that can be here for the next 3 or 4 years. Who cares? The program is bigger than any one guy. The program is bigger than any 10 guys that Mickey Joseph can bring in here or Mickey Joseph can keep around. Nebraska goes 2-10 next season, but it leads to an 8-4 season 3 or 4 years down the road. It's all worth it, but you can't be short-sighted in terms of how you want to build this program. Transfer portal is not the answer. There's so many things you can say just aren't the answer. But the simple fact of the matter is Nebraska needs this program to be torn down to its foundation, if not the foundation torn out too. You need to get the shadow of Tom Osborne that's been hanging over this program for the past 25 years out of the picture. You need to get anything that relates back to the 90s out of the picture. Bring in somebody who does away with the black shirts, does away with the walk-on program. I don't care. You need to build or tear this program down to its foundation and build it up anew. It's a new era of college football. It needs to be a new era of Husker football too.
And I think the other thing too, you mentioned taking away the black shirts, and we're just as guilty of relaying the message when we get, the press releases and stuff. But the other thing I think that needs to be looked at is the sellout streak. And we promote that all the time. This was the 385th sellout streak that they had today with Oklahoma. You know what? 2 weeks from today, they may not have a sellout. They may not have one anymore the rest of the year, depending upon the patience of the Nebraska fan base. And I think when you look at the sellout, I mean, that's obviously based on the number of tickets that have been sold. And there have been times, I remember I went down to watch, Nebraska Bethune-Cookman in 2018. That far southeast corner of Memorial Stadium, not all those seats were full. I mean, there were some empty spots in that part of the stadium. And they may say it's a sellout because they purchased all the tickets. But to me, if you look at the sellout, I would think, my gosh, every seat in the house would be jam-packed. So I think there needs to be transparency with that. If it's a legitimate sellout, promote the fact that there are people there every Saturday during the fall just to just to show everybody that people here in Nebraska care about their football team. But when times are tough, you begin to weed out some of the fair weathers and look at the true fans. If you get true fans that are coming down there every Saturday and it's a legitimate sellout, okay, then it's a legitimate sellout. But as we all know, it's all based on the number of tickets that have been sold. And more times than none, it's usually the big boosters that come in, buy up all those tickets, and then maybe give them away or resell them to other people that want to go watch a game. So that's probably the other thing that probably needs to go away, or at least done away with and not promoted very much, is the sellout streak. And I'll probably eat crow on it, and they'll still sell out the tickets or still sell out some games the rest of the way. So be it. But that's one thing that has loomed overhead as something that has put pressure on getting kids to come to Nebraska, or trying to get kids to come play at Nebraska. It's that and the loyal fan base that they have. And I think you need to be real with kids. I think kids nowadays, they don't want to have anything phony thrown at them. They want the real thing. They want something quick and they want it done. But on the flip side of that, for kids that come into play, and even the fan base for that matter, there needs to be some level of patience. So if you're going to strip everything down to the foundation, Elijah, and rebuild everything, I think the fan base needs to understand you really have to going to extend your patience level quite further for probably another 3-4 years until you see results, until you see progression made toward a winning program.
I'm going to jump in when it comes to the Osborne shadow. It was a talking point last Saturday night, and there still needs to be advice and some influence, because the way Osborne and Devaney practiced, and even Frank and even Bo, I mean, they weren't all the same, but the way they practiced aided development on the lines of scrimmage. Okay, lines of scrimmage are really good on both sides of the football, which is going to win against Big Ten teams, right? It's going to make it a little better for you against Oklahoma, so it's not a public flogging on Big Ten kickoff, okay? So if you want a kid to be ready by the time he's a redshirt sophomore, you better listen to Tom with how you go about practicing, okay? That's my thought. But as far as the sellout streak and the pat on the back to the fans, I mean, they God love them because they, thick and thin, they stand up and they stand out. Now, it's a tribute. That's why it's been kept on going as a tribute, because it's been a bad last 7-8 years. Period. So
can I jump in and
you gotta
here?
take care of the folks and don't bite the hand that feeds. To be honest with you, but there's a lot of holes in the boat of the sellout streak, and you had one more. You had number 385 for OU today. God love you, but I don't know. I'm torn. Like, if it goes away, it isn't going to crush me, Elijah. But but from an Osborne Shadow standpoint and his influence, he knows how to get guys tough and ready to practice. I know that.
Well, and I just want to add something here. Doom and gloom around the sellout streak, around how long this rebuild's going to take. Nebraska fans need to strap in for a long painful rebuild, but let's make one thing clear. It should not take 4 years at a place like Nebraska. With the resources you have around here, a brand new sparkling facility opening up, you theoretically, it's all on paper, but theoretically, you should be able to out-recruit every single team in the Big Ten West. In a year or two of development, you should be able to get up to a level that is passable for Husker fans, a level where you're getting to a bowl game. 3-4 years before Nebraska fans are back to where Husker fans want this program to be, but it should not take 3 to 4 years to get this program to a bowl game. Not by any means. This is Nebraska we're talking about right now. The resources, the money, the fan support, the NIL, a brand new facility, the type of coach that realistically, with the checkbook that Trev Alberts is going to have at his disposal this offseason, the kind of coach that he's going to be able to bring in here, you shouldn't have to strap in for a 4 or 5 year type rebuild. And I know people are going to say that, and people have said that for years with Scott. You got to give him time. It's going to take time because of how deep in the mud Nebraska football is. So many other schools around the country do it in 2 or 3. Matt Rule did it at Baylor in 2 or 3 years. Mel Tucker did it at Michigan State in 2 years. Like, it should not take this long. You got to strap in for it. You got to be ready for it to get back to a point where you should be. But you should start seeing progress in year 1 or year 2 in terms of Nebraska getting back to the point where you want to be at. And just enough progress that you can get people in the seats. It doesn't take much in Nebraska to get people in the seats. Firing your head coach and bringing in an interim head coach who has proven nothing to you has just brought maybe a new energy to the team. That's enough to get this stadium juiced up today. It does not take much to get people in the stands. Just having progress towards making it to a bowl game should get people in the stands, and it's not that hard. It's not as hard as people are making it look to get Nebraska to a freaking bowl game.
And you know what? You know what's funny, Elijah? To your point, Elijah, you brought up Baylor, and Baylor went through a public relations nightmare because of the scandal that they had down there, and within a year or two, and they turned it around.
I mean, Bill O'Brien did it at Penn State, down 10 scholarships a year.
Yeah,
he took that roster and got them back and won Coach of the Year for it. It's not that freaking hard as all these the past 8 years have made it look. It's not that hard. It's like, don't get me wrong, it's difficult. I couldn't do it. But with the resources Nebraska has, you should be able to bring in a guy who doesn't have to make it look this hard.
Yeah, but in all fairness, we haven't had a stable program for the past few years, and it's certainly not going to take 6 days after firing the coach who essentially, from what rumor says, made this whole place feel like a frat house, according to sources. It's going to take more than 6 days to get there, but who knows, whatever this coach search brings in, what it comes down to also is that going back to that whole, we got to tear some stuff down. We got to look at some of this coaching staff too. We're getting to that point now.
We have commentary from Kaylin, Texas. They are near the Oklahoma border, and apparently we are into free shout-outs, but The Cheetah Gentlemen Club says, "Don't worry, Nebraska. We have 12 good-looking women and only one ugly one." So they are sending to Nebraska. So everyone's in line to say, "Hey, it'll be better next week because you don't play." So we're here at the bar. The bar. Seth is with us. You can't hear me. Okay, Seth is with us. He owns the bar. Him and Gregor's. Seth, we're on a 7-second delay, but don't test us. How are you doing? You feeling all right? Yes, he is. You good? You're on there now. What? Are you going to say something? Absolutely. No, he says no. He was on the high board at football and said, "I'm out." It's okay.
Elijah, we got someone on the line, bud.
Hey, we got Mike on the phone.
Mike, go ahead. Thanks for calling. Welcome into Real Red Reaction.
Yeah, it seems like the last 10 years we've heard so much about the recruits. They're all so good. Blah, blah, blah. Are they overrated? I mean, Elijah went through every facet of the team and said, you know, they all played poorly, and I agree with him. Are our recruits overrated? What the hell's the deal?
I think it also comes down to coaching.
Coaching and development.
1,000%.
So they're not living up to their potential because of the coaching?
That's what I'd say.
It all comes down to leadership. You can't blame.
Underdeveloped.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Mike, thanks for the call.
Good stuff from Mike, but that's fair, right? I mean,
yeah, I think it's fair to say.
It's like you don't blame an employee for a business being ran poorly. You blame the manager. You blame it. You blame the leadership. We don't have the leadership.
And I'll add on top. Yeah, sorry, Meg. But on top of poor development, it's also poor talent evaluation, poor roster construction. Whenever you're not developing guys and you're not building a team that wins the Big Ten way, like, yeah, you can develop all these giant offensive linemen, but if you're not developing them to pass block, or they have bodies that are, they're 6'9" and they can't get leverage because they can't get under a guy, that falls back on the coaching staff because A, you're not scouting the right guys, you're not recruiting the right guys, and B, even though it's the wrong guys, you're still not developing them to get any better. I haven't seen an offensive lineman develop other than Cam Jurgens, who, if you remember, was not brought in as an offensive lineman. They brought him in here and said, wow, you know what? Maybe this guy could work as an offensive lineman. They weren't scouting him as an offensive lineman. That was not their plan whenever they brought him here. That falls on the coaching staff, A, for not being able to develop the guys they brought in, but B, bringing in the wrong guys. It's a combination of those two things, but it doesn't fall on the guys in the field. The results on the field today fall on those guys, but in a grander scheme of went wrong the past 5 years, it's been on the coaching staff not being able to develop the guys and not bringing in the right guys to develop into this football program. Yeah. You can do it. You've had top 25 recruiting classes, and I don't think that the scouting there is wrong. I think it could be skewed at times, but I don't think it's wrong. I just think you've brought in the wrong guys for your system, for your conference, and you haven't been developing them the right way.
Guys, I think that Nebraska, I think they made some promises out of the gate. Tim Bob, Meg, Elijah, Motzi. I think they made some promises early to kids that you're going to play and you're going to play early. Not necessarily, hey, you're going to start, but you're going to play early. We need you. And they've done that. They've kept their word, but the kids haven't been ready. 1,000%. We're getting more chance from Grant and Graham to start firing up Slinky here, Elijah. They are saying it is Slinky time at the bar. Do you remember what the ingredients were?
Yeah.
We'll get to that.
It's a great grape Rip-It, which is an off-brand energy drink. Combined with
off-brand, okay.
Combined with, I think, raspberry Smirnoff and some sweet and sour. All I know is it's a great recipe for both a blackout and a hangover. Not necessarily speaking from experience here, but maybe speaking a little bit from experience here. I recommend staying away.
Sure.
I mean, and with a Slinky, Slinky's always tumbled down the stairs, didn't they?
Uh-huh.
I always say, after a bad loss like this, alcohol still tastes good.
Slinky feels great for 20 minutes and then feels awful for 12 hours.
Kind of like
I'm
the first
noticing,
in the whole
I'm
game.
noticing in the I'm noticing in the chat, Elijah, there's some former Southeast teammates that are being mentioned that could have made differences today.
It would appear that the chat room is full of my friends who may have had a couple and are now just spamming the chat. So
Just a couple.
Thanks, appreciate you guys tuning in.
I saw
So
Jack
professional.
I'm like, oh, that's a Southeast kid for sure.
Very
Yeah.
professional, Elijah.
Hey, I'm not telling them to hop on the news.
We're streaming across a bunch of different platforms. 96. Why? What? Okay, put that back up. Charlton said, I once fell asleep on the ground at the bar with my pants down after too many slinkies. Ask Elijah. We will have to go to photo evidence of this because there's a wall of Polaroids, some by the White Cubs win flag, and some over by a ladder. And some Nebraska fan has put a rope up by said ladder just to tempt.
That's one of those pics or it didn't happen moments.
I got the picture. Don't you worry.
Coach is with us. Tim Bob Kit
Love it.
from 96 Kicks is with us. Elijah Herbal is with us. Chris Schmidt, we're here at the bar, 16th and P. Real Red Reaction. We're streaming ESPN Lincoln and KFOR, Facebook and Twitter, 96 Kicks, and the Real Red Reaction YouTube channel. Elijah, who do we have with us?
Yeah, we go to the phone lines. Greg in Michigan with us here on the Real Red Reaction Show.
Greg in Michigan. Greg, appreciate you checking in. Thanks for the time.
Hey, thank you for taking my call. I'm so frustrated, but I agree with Elijah. If you get a head coach in there that's detail-oriented and good assistants, like Mel Tucker, who only has 4 years of head coaching experience, this thing would turn around in a year or two. And I'm so frustrated by that and the stuff you're hearing about the old regime and everything. It's been 7 years of this now. We need to get the right head coach in there because we have talent on the field. That's my take.
Good stuff, Greg. And yeah, we're not saying Nebraska's void of talent, but do they have 22 fellas and Meg? Do they have 22? Do they have 32? What's the two? What's the gap between 1 and 2? Well, you saw Nebraska get wore out at corner, right, opposite Newsom. Well, Tommy Hill was there and then wasn't getting it done, and then they went to Braxton. Braxton's a freak when you do the measurements and athletically, but he's not been able to work his way up. They had to try something new, right? Buford's looked good at safety, but if you're going to go man, I mean, that isn't a forte of Farmer, right? Henrich and Reimer are both really good linebackers. They're really good linebackers in a phone booth and trying to get outside, right? So it's difficult. And by the way, there's no pressure. There's no heat from your 3 to 4 down linemen. So you can sign about 7 autographs and you have 15 seconds to throw the football. So, I mean, the defense is a bit of a nightmare.
Sorry, Schmitty.
No, go for it.
Oh, so no, just piggybacking on top of that, I think that one of the biggest things we saw, and it was very evident today, when you're talking defense, there is little to no gap fill, and that is something that they need to work on. And I know that Coach was talking about we're going back to drill work, less teamwork during practice, more drill work, and he said, and specifically, it was mentioned several times, and we all talked about it in the press box for 4 quarters, where's the gap fill? That's frustrating. That's frustrating to watch over and over and over again.
Well, it starts with the defensive line. It's defensive linemen that are getting washed, and then the offensive line is just getting to second level way too easily. And now, okay, it's one guy trying to make a one-on-one tackle in open field, and the open field tackling was a little bit better today, but it was still not good enough to the Nebraska standard. And it starts up with the line of scrimmage, which is where we let off the show. I said it earlier in the broadcast. I said it last week. I said it on Twitter. I'll say it one more time. Quite possibly, no exaggeration on my end, the worst lines of scrimmage offensively and defensively Nebraska football has had in their entire history. It is bad. Oklahoma is not a team this season that is going to go dominate everyone they play in the trenches. This is not Michigan of last season. This is not Alabama of years past. this is an Oklahoma football team who is still a Big 12 football team. They're still going to be probably the class of the Big 12 this season, but this is not a dominant offensive line and defensive line like you're going to see from a team like Wisconsin later this football season. Wisconsin does it every single year. I am terrified of what that game is going to look like, but it is just bad from the Nebraska offensive and defensive lines. And I mean, they didn't look good last week against a team in Georgia Southern. Do you think that these lines of scrimmage are going to get fixed and look any better by the time Big Ten teams start coming to Lincoln? And I say that answer right now is no, just because it's too little too late to try to fix those type of things. Those things need to be fixed in May, in June, in July, and even dating back further into spring football and winter conditioning. That's when those things need to get fixed. It is too little too late for the lines of scrimmage right now. And we're going to look back on this football team, and specifically the lines of scrimmage, and say, I can't believe it was that bad.
I want to just jump in here because
go ahead.
Unless you want to play the coaches part of it, I know that we've been waiting on the coaches sound bites. If you want to play that, but I think there's a point.
We'll get you, Tim Bob. We'll hit a couple emails. We'll take a timeout, and then we'll hear it from the coaches. Go ahead, Tim Bob.
Well, I just talk about this difference between evaluating and developing talent and leadership, and those kids who will buy in. It's about identity. It's about infrastructure. They talked about that, today. Nebraska's identity of old is not the identity of today, right? And whoever you bring as a coach has got to have, this is who we are, and this is what I'm going to build from and recruit from. And until you get that infrastructure, that commitment to this is who we're going to be on both sides of the ball, you're going to continue to be susceptible to the free agent market, right? Teams that develop talent from the ground up have to recruit to a certain identity, build from a certain identity, and have an infrastructure to support it. They talked about it in the broadcast today. That's the reason Oklahoma has been so successful, going all the way back to their Kansas State day, and Bob Stoops and Venables were on that staff back when they were rebuilding. There's an identity that comes out of this is who we are, and this is what we're doing, and this is who we're recruiting to, and does that dynamic exist at Nebraska, regardless of the facility, regardless of the money? All that can be blown, as we're finding out pretty quickly. You can burn that up pretty quickly if you don't come in with an identity. And I think that's the big question for Trev Albert to answer. Whoever I hire has to come in with a long-term plan and an identity. And it may be short-term. It may take longer than you think, but that's my take on it.
No, you nailed it. And it's got to be the right identity. It's got to be the right plan, and it's got to be a line of scrimmage plan with both sides of the football. Email Todd, one of the worst games I've ever watched. Our lines are terrible. Hope Trev has Urban on speed dial. You had Greg say can Chins not change or adapt from his base defense? Incompetent, no disguise. Or is it because his players can't do more on defense? He's so limited in his defensive calls. Another Todd, this is one of the worst games I've ever watched. Our lines are terrible. And then Kevin chimes in. We are a developmental school. Kevin down in Texas, not being done now, obviously. They could have hung 80 on us. Kleiman or Leopold, that's who we need. Just my thoughts. Sick of hearing how great our fans are instead of how great our team is. Have a good day. Enjoy University of Texas San Antonio. So Kevin's got a bright spot.
I don't think Urban's the guy.
No, well, I think Urban's a short-term fix unless he can hand it off, right? I'm
going to tell you right now, I hate our fan base right now because of all this Urban Meyer talk. It is not the answer. Sorry, that's such a hot take, but he is not the answer. And I'm going to put my head through a damn wall if I hear Urban freaking Meyer one more time. It is not going to solve a damn thing. What are we even talking about? Why is that top of everyone's list? It's such low-hanging fruit.
Walk with me here. Urban can get you back quicker but is he a long-term fix? I agree with you that he's not a long-term fix. He's a short-term flip and fire, right? He's a great firework that lasts about 7 seconds because he burns out.
Great talent evaluator, can develop a great culture within this program. But the problem to me is not that Urban isn't the answer. It's the problem that there's a lot of other answers that are not named Urban Meyer. I think Urban Meyer would do a great job in this program. I think if there's anyone that could get Nebraska to a bowl game, surefire, Urban Meyer is going to do it. He brings juice in recruiting. He brings juice from a national perspective. He builds cultures quickly. He's been proven to do it. But there's a lot of other candidates out there that can also build a program, can also evaluate talent, can also recruit to a place like Nebraska. As I said before in this show, it's not that hard. It's not like this is such an impossible job that Urban Meyer is the only guy in America that can come in and find success in Nebraska. There's a lot of other candidates out there that can do the same.
He's just done it quicker at Florida and Ohio State, but that's the point. He's done it at Florida and Ohio State. He did it at 2 spots that were underachieving compared to what they'd recruited to and their talent was. Could he flip Nebraska in 2 years to 8-5 or better? Probably. Would he be there by year 5 or beyond? No. I mean, it is you need surgery and you're stapling a wound with him, and you need a guy that's going to be able to last 10 or 15 years. You need the frost patience with somebody that'll actually do something.
It's almost like Bob Huggins when he went to K-State to revive that basketball program. He was there 1 season and then went back to West Virginia where he played, and he's been there ever since. I think that's what would happen with Urban Meyer to a point. He would be here in Lincoln maybe a year or 2 and then get out of town. Now, after that happens, you bring in another coach, is he going to sustain that momentum that's built up in a short amount of time? I think you got to have somebody that's going to be able to be here in Lincoln, build up that program, get some good recruits, and you've got some up-and-coming coaches. You mentioned Leipold down at Kansas. Look what he's done so far for them. I think he'd be a pretty good candidate to consider.
I love Lance. I think he'd be incredible. I think Kleiman would be incredible. You got a ton of folks, and you got some gettable guys that still hold Nebraska in reverence, Elijah.
Aim higher. I like Leipold. I like Chris Kleiman. Aim higher, though.
Of course, Campbell.
Make some bigger names say no before you come back to guys like that. And those guys are proven program builders. I can't deny that. But I do think you have to aim higher. And Trev Alberts would be doing the university disservice if he's not calling Urban Meyer and saying, Urban, what's your number? It's as simple as that to me. And he should be calling everybody. He should be calling Bill O'Brien and saying, what's your number? He should be calling Luke Fickell and saying,
thanks
what's
for your number? You're high. Who do you like? Ted emails in Chris at HaleVarsity.com. Unless the team can play, and Ted nails it here. Love Ted listening. Unless the team can play an entire game with the intensity of their first offensive and defensive possessions, they will not win another game this year. That's a really good take because you saw Oklahoma change, adapt, and all right, we got poked. Now we're going to respond. And again, that come from behind victory. 49 straight points reeled off by Oklahoma. Wow. Just incredible. Meg, we'll let you, you want to add a send-off? You've been doing some OT for us, and we thank you for it.
So just to put a pin in this whole Urban Meyer thing, I know that people, everyone's talking about, what he did at Florida, what he did at Ohio State. That's great. Here's my question. And this is something I was talking about with some of the guys in the press box, some of my buddies this week. My first question is, do you not think, and I know the NFL and I know that the NCAA are 2 very different beasts. Totally get that. Very different. Do we not think that maybe he is now tainted based off of that experience? All of the bad, it's a culmination of coming off of a bad coaching stint in Jacksonville and coming off of bad press and everything that goes along with it. I guess thank God we don't have a chop house in Lincoln. But here's the thing. I'm just not sold on the fact that we would get if they genuinely wanted to entertain that as a coaching option. I'm not convinced that he is the Urban Meyer of old that we're all sitting here talking about? That's my only point. We don't know. And that's
He took a shot in the NFL. He took a shot in the NFL, and control's way different, right? It's the parent that's the friend with their kid versus the parent that is the dictator to their kid. And you can't tell grown-ups that make 7 times what you make what to do and do it in a harsh manner. Guys won't do that. You got to treat them professionally, hence pro football. He could have control in college and be a ruthless dictator and be a jerk to his staff. But guess what? You work for Urban Meyer, you're going to get a head job or you're going to get a coordinator job. So, no, people will work for him because in the college realm, he's still really good. What's unknown is Nebraska at the point right now to be a sleeping giant like Florida is and was? Is Nebraska at the point like Ohio State was at? I mean, Ohio State was an incredible situation. My God, I mean, you went 6-7 because of Tattoo-gate. You went 12-2 the year before with Sweater Vest. USC said, yeah, we can't touch you, right? USC said no to him. You wanted the SC job because you walk in there and then loaded with 4 and 5 stars. All you got to do is rattle a few cages because the talent's there. I think Nebraska, talent-wise, especially depth-wise, they are several miles deep in the ocean of deep water. Okay, and it's just SC, Florida. The Zucker recruited incredibly in Florida, and he wrecked that Ferrari. Okay, Nebraska's a whole different animal right now, so that's my question mark. I don't think there's enough here for him to flip it in a quick fix fashion. I like Elijah's take where you go look at some other names, some builders, right? And the build was supposed to be going on the last 5 years.
And my take on Urban, and this is probably where I'll close my thoughts on Urban, is that of any of the coaching candidates out there, I think he's the most surefire because he's still a top 3 name in college football in terms of national appeal. Who knows the name? He's up there with Nick Saban, Dabo Swinney, and Urban Meyer. Those are the top 3 coaches that everyone across the country is going to know, and he's going to be able to turn around the roster faster than any other coach as well. I mean, recruits, transfers, what have you. There's NIL opportunities at Nebraska, and they'd have Urban Meyer as their head coach. Look at how different USC's roster looks this year as compared to last year because of the Lincoln Riley effect. Going over there and joining USC, he turned over that roster in an instant. Urban Meyer could have the same effect at Nebraska just in terms of the fact that everyone from high schoolers to current college kids to 50-year-old guys watching college football to 80-year-old guys watching college football, everyone knows who Urban Meyer is. And if you get a call from Urban Meyer as a recruit, or as a kid in the transfer portal, you pick that phone call up because it's Urban freaking Meyer. You're going to pick that up, and Urban Meyer would be able to turn over this roster faster. And I have faith that if you give Urban a roster with talent, that he'll be able to go win with that roster. That's why I think Urban Meyer is the most surefire candidate out there. And obviously, it comes with a lot of baggage. I'm sure that's what Trev has to weigh, but you have to make that call because the simple fact of the matter is Urban's as close as I think you can get to a surefire as there's going to be at Nebraska.
Let's send it to Sports Center. Meg, come on down from here. We'll wrap up Real and Reaction with some Mickey Joseph comments, also some player thoughts. Let's head it to Sports Center now with Real Red Reaction.
Football scoreboard right now in the top 25. In Eugene, 12th ranked BYU trailing number 25 Oregon 17-7 in the second quarter. Other second quarter scores, a game on ABC. Ole Miss, ranked number 20, leads at Georgia Tech 21-0 in the second. Also in the second, number 22 Penn State leads at Auburn 7-6. And on the SEC Network in the second quarter, number 2 Alabama leads UL Monroe 28-7. Earlier today, number 4 Michigan romps past Connecticut 59-0. But in the process, quarterback Cade McNamara suffered a first-half leg injury coming off the bench. He likely will be out for a few weeks for the Wolverines. And one other score to update, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish in danger of going to 0-3. They trail Cal 17-14 going to the fourth quarter in South Bend. ESPN's Mel Kiper Jr. says college football is a great game still, but right now it's a little less great.
Penalties with the long review, this targeting stuff is ridiculous. long half times, long games, calls made, calls missed. The officiating is horrible. They got to let the kids play, let the games go. It's a heel in. Let's take 10 minutes. Forget the touch, this, 15, 20 angles, right? It's ridiculous.
Mel Kiper Jr. on Dari and Mel. The NASCAR Cup Series runs a playoff elimination race tonight in Bristol, Tennessee, with Eric Almirola on the pole.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all of your car care needs. We're close, convenient, and known for our guaranteed everyday low prices and excellent customer service from professional parts people you can trust. Stop by your local O'Reilly Auto Parts today. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
Straight Talk Wireless knows there are plenty of reasons you might need a new phone. But switching to a better wireless provider doesn't have to be one of them. Keep your own phone and save when you switch to any Straight Talk Wireless plan, like our $45 Silver Unlimited plan with unlimited high-speed data and 5 gigs of hotspot, plus nationwide 5G on America's best networks. Keep your own phone. Switch to a better wireless plan. Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise. Requires a compatible unlocked phone and KYOP kit. 5G T-Mobile device required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary. See latest terms and conditions at straighttalk.com.
When a nasty cold keeps you up all night, Vicks NyQuil Severe gives you powerful relief from your worst cold and flu symptoms, which changes a night that sounds like this into a night that sounds more like this. Ah, that's better. NyQuil Severe. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, sore throat, stuffy head, aching, fever, best sleep with a cold medicine. Use this direct.
What Limitless Mail is not. We are not a pop-up infomercial shouting ED treatments. Limitless Mail has 12 licensed medical clinics across the Midwest. Our proprietary therapies correct ED and treat the symptoms of low testosterone. Limitless Mail's newest Pulse Wave ED treatment penetrates deeper to open blood flow to your man parts. 9 out of 10 men find success in the bedroom. You can too. Schedule a free consult at limitlessmail.com.
Hey, Joe, check out my new ride. Pretty awesome, huh?
Whoa, that's a sweet convertible. You didn't, win this on a game show, right?
Nope, this is all me and my pals at Members Own Credit Union.
Oh, yeah, they're the people with the great auto loan rates.
And right now, everyone who transfers or gets a new auto loan has the chance to win a $1,000 gas gift card, too.
Well, you know what this means.
Road trip! Fuel your adventure with an auto loan from Members Own. Restrictions apply. Go to membersowncu.org for details.
TrackPhone wants to know, are you an influencer, a big live streamer? No? And guess what? You don't need an endless data plan. Get just the right amount of data with TrackPhone's $40 unlimited talk and text smartphone plan. Now with 8 gigs of high-speed data and unlimited carryover on America's largest, most dependable network, now with 5G. Get the data you need at the price you want. TrackPhone Wireless. Now you're in control. Available at major retailers. 5G compatible device required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary. See terms and conditions at
I'm
trackphone.com.
weatherology meteorologist Laura Lockwood with your capital city forecast. Mainly clear tonight with a chance for scattered storms. Lows around 64. Southeast winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tomorrow, high of 89. Lows around 65 tomorrow night. That's the forecast on Lincoln's ESPN. Right now, 84.
Get your sports fix here. ESPN Lincoln is on the air at 101.5 FM and 1480 AM. Online at ESPNLincoln.com. Real Red Reaction following every Husker game. Powered by Hail Varsity on ESPN Lincoln, 101.5 FM and 1480 AM.
Back here at the bar, it's Real Red Reaction. Chris Schmidt, along with Jeff Moats, Elijah Herbal, Tim Baum, Kitzmiller, Meg from 96 Kicks, and you can watch us and stream us here, 96 Kicks Facebook. We're on StreamYard, KFOR Now, Twitter, and KFOR Facebook, ESPN Lincoln, Twitter, and Facebook, and Real Red Reaction, YouTube TV. As we're winding down here, just awesome stuff. Randy's hanging out with you like we're presented here by Currency for all your equipment financing needs. Go Currency. Love it. I got a headset on and the computer set up, and I've had 3 or 4 I'm going to say they're pre-med or pre-law in Eric Stratton tribute. They asked me a little bit. And I'm doing a bleeping sports radio show. So here comes some little baby. There we go. We're going to get credit for that. I requested the Rolling Stones. I mean, Seth's the DJ here. Moats, what do you want to hear?
Werewolves of London by Warren Zevon.
Okay. Elijah, what do you got?
Anything by Kanye West.
Elijah says Kanye. Tim Bob, what do you want?
Bill, Def Leppard, it's better to burn out than fade away.
Okay. We've heard some Leopard earlier. Guy behind me wearing the Rastafarian T-shirt is in the Bob Marley mood. At least he smells like it. Meg, what do you got rocking?
Hey, give me Metallica all day, baby.
All right. Master of Puppets. We will crank that
Hell
up.
yeah.
All right. So let's hear from Mickey Joseph right now, post-game. Your shot clock is this. About 13, 14 minutes. Let's see, what do we got coming up at 4:30 here, Cowboy?
We got Mississippi State LSU on ESPN. That's the pregame start at 4:30.
Talk to the Pirate this week. He's feeling good. He's feeling good about today. He's had a good history against LSU. 2-0 against the Bayou Bengals. Here is Mickey. Let's keep with that LSU thing. Did a great job with the Tigers under Ed Orgeron. Mickey Joseph right now, post-game, as Nebraska falls to the Sooners 49-14, fell hard.
Something will bring 2 or 3 players in after
Okay, hey, first of all, we're going to get this press started. This is on me. This is on me. Not my players, not my assistant coaches. I got to do a better job. And I will. I got to do a better job. I thought they fought to the end. I like to thank the fans. The fans, they hung in there with us, and we fed off the energy, but we didn't do enough. They beat us in all 3 phases of the game, offense, defense, and special teams. But this comes back to me. It's not my kid's fault, not my assistant coach's fault. This is on me. I got to accept responsibility for it, and I have. We're going to get better next week. We got 8 games left. We're going to get ready to win some games.
Questions? Mickey, when you say this one's on you, what do you feel like you could have done differently to have a different outcome?
I guess I didn't do enough last week to get them ready. I got to get back, and we got to do some individual work, some more drill work next week, less teamwork, and get some fundamentals straightened up. We got to continue to tackle. I didn't do enough tackling. I got to do more. I got to get them better in that part.
You talked about the gap integrity on defense. Any better today or kind of same?
You watched the game? You seen it? No, it wasn't there. It wasn't there. But that's not on him. That's on me.
Mickey, how much could you get done though in 6 days?
A lot.
How will the bye week?
The bye week's going to help because we can reevaluate some players. We had some young kids, had some snaps and had some good snaps, I thought. So we would look at some young players and see if they can help us. If they can help us, we increase their reps.
Mickey, obviously you didn't see this coming, but did it surprise you how the wheels fell off today?
Yes, it surprised me. But I wanted them to continue to fight, and they did. But it fell off. But you know what? Like I said again, this is on me. I got to fix this.
What did Oklahoma do defensively that was effective? Had you seen all of those things on film, or what maybe did you guys not do?
Well, they show more odd. And more blitzing the safety in the A and the B gap. And we prepared for it. We just didn't execute it.
What's going on with Teddy? I saw his arm in a sling today.
Yes, Teddy's going to redshirt. Teddy's done for the year. He's going to redshirt. You have to talk to Mark about that. I'll get Mark on it.
Speak on the situation of your offensive line. I mean, how does this group? How can you get this group better? They gave up 4 sacks today, 9 tackles for loss. I mean, what have you seen up front, and how can this group get any better?
We got to work more fundamentals with him this week. We got to find a good 5 combination of 5 of them, and see how it works. But we can look at, like I said, we got to look at some young kids. We got to look at some backups and see if they can help us.
Mickey, what did you see today between the 2 teams as far as the skill level, the talent level? Where do you feel you guys are at in comparison to Oklahoma?
I think we got to do a better job in recruiting. They had better skill players. We got to do a better job. But we have really good skill players also. We just got to get them to execute.
I think Casey played.
Well, I have to go back and look at the film, but nobody played very good with a score like that. So I would say that he didn't play very well.
Did he leave because he was hurt or because?
No, we needed to get Trouble some reps.
What you think? How did you think Chuba did?
I thought Trouble played okay when he got in there. He made some mistakes, but I thought he was aggressive and he gave us a chance to sustain drives.
Mickey, does this redefine the depth or maybe the process of the task ahead just based on today?
No, we're gonna go back and look at this film, and we're gonna dissect this film, and we're gonna find the kids that was doing what we was asking them to do, and the kids that can tackle and that can block and do the right things, and we're gonna increase their reps if they wasn't a starter.
How tough's the assignment of just keeping guys mentally up at this point after that tough start to the season? What's your read on where your team's at?
I think they're going to be okay. Because they don't have to hold on to this loss. This is on me, and I told them that. It's my job to get them better, and we will get them better.
What can you do and what will you do over the bye week? I mean, how can you?
More drill work, more drill work, more bump combo, more 9-on-7, more turnover drills, more drill work, less teamwork. Because the teamwork don't matter if the individual work is no good.
How did it feel running out of the tunnel for the first time as a head coach in Nebraska?
Felt good till the game started.
The first drive on offense went according to plan, though.
Started fast. We got to be more consistent, though. I got to get them to be more consistent.
How do you work on that from the opening drive to following that?
Well, like I said, we got to look at some more players. We got to look at the roster and see who can help us, and we got to work them. We got to work some fundamentals. We got to clean up some fundamentals.
Do you consider any changes above the player level?
No, I can't see that right now. I don't know if I'll be able to see that tomorrow, but I can't see that right now.
You had mentioned earlier this week that gap integrity is the biggest issue with the run defense. After today's game, do you feel the same way, or are there other aspects of the run defense that will be hard to change or have to change?
Well, we got to be in our gap and we got to tackle. It's simple. Got to be in your gap and you got to tackle. And it wasn't there today.
You mentioned giving them confidence, injecting that into them. Just the momentum that you held lasted a couple of series.
Mm-hmm.
But did you see that as a result of what you worked with them on during the week leading up to this?
Yeah, they start fast. Now I got to get them to be consistent with it and come back and do it again.
Take one more, Coach. How different was this for you? I mean, going through the game, you making the decisions and all that. How was game day different?
Oh, it was different. It was different from being a receiver coach to running the whole show. Like I said, this is on me, and I got to get better as a head coach.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Bring a couple players in here shortly.
That was Mickey Joseph, his first post game as coach. As Chris Schmidt here at the bar, and we're presented by Currency. For all your equipment financing needs, go Currency. Jeff Moats is hunkered down. Elijah Herbal. Tim Bob Kitzmiller, Meg from 96 Kicks. Are you still at the stadium?
I'm on the field.
You are going to get tased and they're going to drag you off, but that's okay.
I know.
We'll come bail you out. Man, what a day it's been. Pre-game here at the bar, incredible fun with weekend edition of Hail Varsity. Post-game, folks are still trying to lift their spirits. We'll just say that. I could never pull off the striped overalls. Some guy's got an Ace of Hearts tattoo. Wow. As beautiful as he looks, he's got Barbie next to him. Anywho, we're going to move on. Final thoughts as we go around the horn here. Mozi, it's a bye week. It's a bye more Jack Daniels week for Nebraska football fans. But a quick thought before you say goodbye. I can't hear Mozi.
Unmute yourself, Mozi.
Mozi, unmute yourself, please.
Or better yet, there we go. Better yet, they can go out and get Uncle Budley or some Blue Yummies to enjoy too. I think Mickey Joseph hit it when he said that, one of the things they got to go do is go back to working on drills, do drills instead of game time stuff. improving fundamentals. I think that's something that's very much key in this bye week for Nebraska to work on and to try to improve and get ready for Indiana. I think, if you're a good football team, you still do some station work, you still do some drills, then you work on your game stuff. I think that's what needs to happen. I think Mickey Joseph hit it right on the head there during his post game. And if Nebraska can go back and work on the basic things and then still work on preparing for Indiana, and they come out and they show signs of improvement, especially on that line, both sides, both offensive and defensive lines, then okay, maybe there's a little bit of glimmer of hope there. But if things are just flat, then it's probably going to be doom and gloom.
Elijah, thought from you before we say goodbye from the bar? Are you coming down? Let me ask you that. Let me put you on the spot.
I'm trying to find some people, see if we can meet you down there. Let me get back to you on that once this post-game show ends here. I've been focused on the show, not about my plans afterwards. But final thoughts from today.
Professional.
Going to be a long and hard season for Husker football fans. It's as simple as that. It's going to be a lot more of these type of reaction shows, I think, moving forward, of a little bit more doom and gloom, try to find the silver lining. It's going to be a long coaching search. We'll see if Mickey's the guy. Didn't get off on a strong foot. Don't think that's any of his own doing, but he had a tall task to go get this job permanently moving forward, and his odds after today don't look great moving forward. Trev Albert's got a long couple months ahead of him. Husker fans got a long couple months ahead of him. We doing these shows have a long couple months ahead of us. So buckle in, Husker Nation. What you saw today is not an aberration. This is what the season's going to look like moving forward. Hopefully there's progress, but don't count on it. That's my final thoughts from the game today. Nebraska went up against a very good football team, but they're going to go up against a lot of other very good football teams this season as well. And unless something changes
beer
dramatically.
Is cold at the bar. Come on down. Tim Bob, thoughts, my friend?
Well, Boomer Sooner, I'll celebrate that victory, and I'll mourn with the rest of Nebraska for the fall of this program and the rebuilding. I think is it depends on who Trev brings in, but I hope they have a great off week. I hope they do develop some things and find some characters, give some young people, some of those other guys a chance. Because I do think Indiana is beatable. I do think Illinois is beatable, and Rutgers. So those may be the 3 wins. Iowa's going to have to play better offense, but they don't have to play much of your defensive line is going to play like that. But I'm hopeful because I'm always a fan of the underdog. And right now, Nebraska's an underdog in every game they play.
Meg, a final thought from you as you're on Memorial Stadium turf.
Well, I think what it comes down to, it's the same old song and dance. It's not an overnight fix. We got to get bigger. We got to get faster in every facet and every side of the ball and every part of this team. And it's not going to happen overnight. As Elijah said, strap in. We got 8 games left of most likely a lot of frustration. Optimistically, hopefully, some improvements there. We'll see. Like, we had 6 days between the firing of Scott to Mickey Joseph's, interim head coach debut. It's not going to get fixed in 6 days. I think we just have to wait it out, see what happens. Don't expect, the world. It just is what it is right now. And also just want to touch on real quick. I saw a couple dudes in the comments, Grant and Brody, you can say I'm wrong about Urban Meyer. That's fine. As the big noon kickoff crew is walking behind me, I'm trashing Urban. That's fine. It's my opinion. It's a tall order and seems a little too good to be true. That's where I'm coming from with all that.
Why don't you grab Urban right now? I mean,
Let's ask the question.
Let's go ask the question.
I know. I'm like, every time I open my mouth about Urban, I see a big noon kickoff shirt walking by, and I'm like, oh my God.
Just grab him and just it's interrogation time. Do it. I love it. Chris Schmidt here at the bar. Allie's hanging out. Jeff Moats, Elijah Herbal, Tim Bob, and Meg. And thanks for spending time with us here on ESPN Lincoln and KFOR 96 Kicks and the Real Red YouTube channel and the bar for having us out. I love doing this here at the bar here, 16th and P. My final thought is this as we say goodbye is the Pirate Mike Leach on the way here at 4:30 with LSU and Mississippi State. I'm going to call my shot and say Oklahoma is a playoff team. Okay, I think what Nebraska ran up against today is that good. Their Final Four good. I think Nebraska under Mickey, based on what he said with drill work and then individual work specifically, he will get them better. He will keep them motivated, and Mickey will not be afraid to cut bait. Maybe not publicly boot people. Your playing time is in jeopardy. So Nebraska will get better. I think Indiana is 1,000% critical. They get Indiana. That allows them to go 180 confidence-wise. Right now, and from bad to worse. Coach got fired, and then we got curb stomped in front of people on Big Noon. Okay, so their confidence is brutal, and it should be. But they'll get coached up. They'll get fixed. Mickey took accountability, even though that wasn't all on him, and it wasn't all on him. But he took the arrows, and coaches and players need that relationship, that dynamic. So we'll be back at it Monday. Hail Varsity at 4. The morning hookup with Hooksy and Will at 9 a.m. George Darlington joins me in studio. George will have a John Blake mistress story. That's at least what he's hinting at. And we'll check in with Charlie McBride. God bless the late, great John Blake. But we will get it rolling at 4 and 9 on Monday with Hail Varsity and Morning Hookup. Appreciate everyone checking in. Elijah, you're a rock star. Appreciate you. Mozi, appreciate you, brother. Tim Bob, enjoy that red dirt cocktail. Meg, great work. Chris Schmidt, Allie, appreciate you. The bar, where to be here in Lincoln, 16th and P. Talk to you Monday with ESPN Lincoln.